have, let's just call it address model. And be really simple with it. We're going to have string city, string country. 2 properties. And now what we want to do is we want to have 2 different forms. So let's go over to our form we have here for add new person. I'm going to copy it. And I am going to paste it in twice. Add new person and add a new address. And instead of new person, which we got to actually create, which is right up here, let's actually copy and paste this one over here. New person. And we'll paste it again. This time we're going to say, instead of person model, it's going to be address model, which we need a using statement. So control dot to add the using statement. And we're going to say new address here. So we have 2 different models that are properties on our code behind. Now, right now, both of these forms are doing the exact same thing. We're going to change that. So this would be city, and this would be country. And instead of new person, we're going to say new address. And instead of first name, we're going to say city. And instead of new person, it's new address. And instead of last name, it is country. And we'll say create address. The problem right now is we have, well, actually no on post, which let's grab one of those. We can actually use this over here for our first one. But how do we know what to call? Okay, so let's do this. Instead of calling it on post async, let's call it on post person async. And let's copy this again. And this time we're going to say on post address async. Now we've changed the wording. The system by default uses on get and on post, or on get async and on post async as kind of like keywords or key method names to know how to wire up these things. But what happens now? We've changed it and said we have 2 different ones, on post person and on post address async. Well, and they actually do the same thing. We can actually put breakpoints in here just so we can capture what's going on. In our input, after value, or it doesn't matter, but I do after value, ASP dash page dash handler. And we're going to say that this is going to be, we're going to name it, this was address. So we have on post address async. Remember, see how it's between the post and async? That's the place to put it. Because now we refer to it as address, not the on post or the async, just address. And then let's copy this, paste it, and this one is person. Now let's run this and see what happens. But first, let's actually wire up our layout page so we have access to the toForms method. So let's copy this. It'll make your life easier too when you're running the source code. toForms, and let's just call this toForms. Now I can run it. And once it runs, we'll have that link. We can go right to that page and we can start working with our 2 different forms, which both have breakpoints. So I click that. Let's start with the person, Tim Corey. Click create person. And it's called the onPost person async. It says it's valid. Let's expand this. Let's look at new person, Tim Corey. New address, null, null. Hit continue. Of course, it blanks it out because we've redirected to this page. Let's type Scranton, USA, and hit create address. It stopped in the onPost address async, and now new person is null, but new address is Scranton, USA. So it knows which model is being filled in. The other model is null. That's okay. And it's still valid. And it's allowing us to have 2 or more different post methods on the same page using these handlers. So that's a way to kind of take your Razor page to kind of the next level before you have to start looking into MVC. So MVC allows us very, very complex. Anything you want to go pretty much you can do with your controller. But Razor forms, on the other hand, or Razor pages are a little more restrictive or a little more or less complicated, I guess you could say, than that. But it does allow you to get a little bit more complex before you have to take that jump to the much more complex MVC structure. So this kind of bridges the gap for you, especially if you already have Razor pages and just need it for 1 or 2 things. It allows you to stay in Razor pages instead of having to take on all that extra infrastructure just for maybe 1 or 2 instances.